Greetings, Father. What are the strongest arguments to prove that the Orthodox Church is the true church of Christ? I found Christ, and I'm currently looking for his true church. God bless you, Father. I mean, they're endless. There's only really 2 or 3 possible claimants for the true church. So, I mean, look, first of all, there's a variety of ways you can approach it. I've seen people approach it historically, theologically. They go through the thing. It takes them a year or 2 or 3 or 5 or something, and it's a long process. And they analyze the text and yeah, okay, to a certain degree, sure. We all do that. I do that. And there's so many things to read, and it's very fascinating. It's wonderful and all things. Yeah, you can do that. And the Orthodox Church is clearly the church, no doubt about it. And I always point to just a couple things on that level, if you want to do that approach, which I think is the lowest tier approach, by the way. Like the least convincing and least, the most problematic would be that approach, but it's still good, and people still come to the truth eventually. But just historically, theologically, this is so obvious on many levels. But I always think that one of the crux of the matter is, at least with regard to Western Christianity, heterodoxy, is the Eighth Ecumenical Council, and that's why we struggled very hard. My son did endless hours of work on the acts of the Eighth Ecumenical Council. We've translated them into English, commentary, et cetera, and we published many other material on that. And it's very clear that they accepted this council, they accepted the rejection of the filioque, and then they dialed it back and left the council behind and left all the previous councils behind by adding the filioque. It's night and day clear that the Pope Sergius in 1009 and the other popes after him in 1014 and 1054 and on, walked away from the councils, the council and councils, which forbid addition to the creed and forbid any such theology in the saints and in the subsequent tradition, witnessed very clearly against the filioque as acceptable. And it's irreconcilable with the Cappadocian, the patristic teaching on the Holy Trinity. It's all very clear to me. And then what makes it even more abundantly clear in terms of Catholicism is that if you look at our newest publication, the 2-volume Errors of the Latins, but also an essay by the great Vatican II ecclesiologist Congar, he says it right out that everything changed in the 12th century. Everything changed in the West in the 12th century. You've got a night and day church before and after. And it's very clear, like all the innovations, all the new practices, not communing infants, the change understanding of baptism, blah, 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 blah. It all starts after the schism, almost immediately after the schism. And we can go on and on. There's no comparison to the spirituality of the Western saints with the great ancient saints and the modern saints of the Orthodox Church. It's night and day. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Now, you might have to take a long time to prove it to yourself, but it's not hard. If you touch on some really key factors, it's not hard. The other thing is you can approach it in terms of spiritual life and spiritual experience, and going to the monasteries, going to the parishes, going on pilgrimage. And I think anybody who's really seeking to pray, really seeking to go deeper in the spiritual life, they will be convinced very quickly that the Orthodox Church is the one holy Catholic Apostolic Church by the unbelievable spiritual experiences that you can have by going to the Holy Mountain of Ethos or going to the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem or whatever. These things experientially are knockout blows, in my mind anyway, for where the church is. And if you understand more deeply what the life of Christ is, the hesychastic core of the church, then your eyes are open and you see the tremendous delusion, for instance, in many of the Western saints, or in the whole Marian Mariology of the West, or in the crazy Pentecostal wing of Catholicism today. And these things are inconsistent with the 2,000-year tradition of the Orthodox Church in terms of the spiritual life. So I don't know, just there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can examine and you can experience that will tell you that Catholicism is not the church. Now, if you wanted to go back to the Monophysites, then there's more of some similar things, not as clear because there's much less history involved, but the Chalcedon as a council and all the subsequent councils are the inheritors of the church tradition and of St. Cyril himself. It's very clear as well when you go and you read the sources. We're going to actually hopefully be producing sometime soon a massive tome all about the Monophysites and the Fourth Council. That could be helpful to you. So I don't know. I mean, I can't answer. It's such an open-ended question. I can't answer all the possibilities, but that's something for you to consider.